I didn't realize my world was breaking until it was already in pieces. One moment I believed in us, and the next I was standing in an empty home with everything I worked for gone. People whispered that I should have seen it coming, but they didn't feel the shock of discovering how deeply trust can cut. The betrayal didn't arrive loud. It unfolded slowly, each truth worse than the last. And while I tried to make sense of the damage, he rebuilt himself in ways I never imagined. Every headline, every quiet rumor, every new twist forced me to confront how little I knew about the man I walked away from. Because the night everything collapsed wasn't the ending, it was the spark. And when I finally saw who he became, I understood I was stepping into a story far bigger than my own. The night she left still plays in my head with the clarity of a spotlight snapping on in a dark theater. I remember the quiet first. That strange, loaded quiet that sinks into the walls right before something breaks. I came home expecting dinner, maybe a small argument about schedules or bills, the usual things. Instead, I found my drawers half open, hangers swinging like thin, metal question marks, and the faint scent of her perfume drifting out the door. She didn't even bother to close it behind her. My bank app showed the number blinking like a warning. 190,000 gone. Every cent I had saved over years of grinding work, late nights, and sacrifices that no one saw. At the bottom of the screen was her name. Transfer complete. I didn't call her. Didn't run after her. The message she left on the counter was short, so short it felt rehearsed. He apologized. I need to see if we still have something. That was it. No explanation. No remorse. She left with money that wasn't hers to solve feelings that weren't mine to fix. By the next morning, everyone knew. A friend of hers posted something vague online about following your heart. And within hours the whisper started. People I barely spoke to felt entitled to weigh in. I overheard two co-workers laughing near the elevator, saying I should have seen it coming, that I made it too easy for her. Another said I had that look, whatever that meant. Soft, trusting, naive. The type of man someone walks over without noticing the footprints. I didn't defend myself. I didn't correct a single rumor. I let the judgment sit there, heavy and unchallenged, as if it belonged to someone else. But inside, something cracked. Not loud, not dramatic. A steady, cold fracture that felt like the beginning of something I couldn't name yet. In the days that followed, I vanished from my normal life. I told my boss I needed time off. I stopped answering calls. I didn't explain. I didn't justify. I moved through the city like a shadow, watching how quickly people move on when you're no longer useful to talk about. Her friends deleted me. Mine didn't know what to say. The few who tried offered the wrong kind of comfort, the soft sympathy that makes everything worse. I didn't want comfort. I wanted direction. Maybe purpose. Maybe something sharper. The sleepless nights started. I walked until my legs burned. I sat in cafes long after they emptied, staring at spreadsheets, news articles, anything that could distract me. I kept circling back to the same question. If someone takes everything from you, what is left for you to build? One night, around 3 in the morning, I found the answer staring back at me from a glowing screen. A struggling tech startup posted a last-chance funding call. They needed a lifeline. Their valuation was low, their leadership desperate, and their product barely functional. But buried between their clumsy lines of code was something real, potential, raw, unfocused, half-formed, but real. I felt something ignite. So I disappeared even more completely. No social media, no updates, no explanations. I sold everything I didn't need. I cashed out smaller investments I'd forgotten I even had. Then I sat across from their founder in a tiny office that smelled like dust and ambition, and I said the sentence that would change my entire trajectory. I want in. He hesitated. I didn't look like someone ready to bet everything. I looked exhausted, as if I was holding myself together just long enough to sign the papers. But the numbers made sense. The idea had weight. And my money, what I had left, was exactly what they needed to stay alive. I invested. Not recklessly. Not blindly. I invested with intention, step by step. I rebuilt the product roadmap. I handled restructuring quietly. I studied everything. Market gaps, user behavior, industry fails, competitor weaknesses. Every minute I wasn't working felt wasted. I took meetings at dawn. I stared at screens until my eyes burned. I didn't tell a single soul from my old life what I was doing. It wasn't about proving myself. It was about building something clean out of something broken. Something that didn't come from her or from what she took. 2 months into the grind, during a team meeting, the founder mentioned a new hire in passing. He used to work at Calden Systems, he said. Rough exit. Looks like the place collapsed internally. Calden Systems. The name landed like a stone in my chest. Her ex. I didn't show a reaction. I kept my pen steady. I nodded like it meant nothing. He starts on Monday, the founder added. The timing felt unreal, almost scripted. The company that had barely survived long enough for me to invest was now scooping up employees from the ruins of Calden. And he was desperate enough to take the job. Needed the income. Needed stability. Needed something I now controlled. But I didn't say a word. Not then. Not when he walked into the office for the first time, glancing around the room like someone searching for a safe corner. He didn't recognize me immediately. Why would he? He'd only seen me once before, years ago, when she introduced us awkwardly at a gathering. He barely looked me in the eye then. Now he avoided meeting anyone's gaze. He shook hands with the founder. Then he saw me. I watched the flicker of recognition tighten his jaw. Just for a moment. But I stayed neutral. Professional. Detached. Welcome, I said. We'll talk soon. His eyes dropped to the floor, like he wasn't sure whether he was being greeted or warned. Working with him was easy, strangely enough. He wasn't arrogant anymore. He was quiet, cautious, stripped of the confidence she always swore he had. I wasn't interested in humiliating him or reminding him of what happened. I didn't need him to know anything yet. I wasn't even sure what I wanted him to know. So I focused on the work. And the company grew. Slowly at first. Then fast. Then uncontrollably fast. The kind of growth founders dream about and investors pretend they foresaw. We refined the product, secured partnerships, built a strategy that spread through the market like a silent fire. 3 months after she left me with empty pockets, we got the news. The company had been selected for a major innovation award, the kind that launches startups into the spotlight. The founder insisted I attend the gala as the primary investor. He wanted me on stage with him. My instinct was to decline, but something in me shifted. If the world wanted to watch, let them. The venue glowed like a polished jewel. Cameras everywhere. Journalists drifting from group to group. My name printed neatly on the program next to majority investor. I felt eyes on me the moment I stepped inside, but I kept my expression steady. I shook hands. I smiled politely. I stood beside the founder as he spoke to reporters. Then, right before the ceremony began, I saw her. She froze at the edge of the crowd, half hidden behind a column as if she could pretend she hadn't been staring at me. Her expression trembled in that familiar way, the one I used to rush to soothe. She walked closer, hesitating like each step cost her something. She spoke my name quietly, soft, like a question, like a plea. Behind her, I saw him, her ex, my employee, hovering near the back, watching everything but unable to intervene. The sight tightened the air around us. She tried again. Can we talk? I didn't answer. I didn't know her anything. And the ceremony was starting. When they called my name to come on stage, I turned toward the lights without looking back. I felt the shift in the room, the curiosity, the whispers, the sudden understanding that something larger was unfolding right in front of them. The applause swelled. Cameras flashed. The founder handed me the award, smiling like he had just witnessed the company cross the finish line of a race no one expected us to finish. The morning after the award gala, the city felt strangely muted. I walked out of the venue with applause still echoing in my ears, but all I could think about was the look she wore when I passed her. A mixture of confusion and something that almost resembled fear. It stayed with me longer than the ceremony itself, longer than the conversations, the compliments, or the cameras. I told myself it didn't matter. Yet the expression lingered, drifting back into my thoughts like an unfinished sentence. I didn't go home right away. I went to the office. The place was empty at that hour, still and quiet, the kind of quiet that gives you enough space to think. I sat at my desk, staring at the glowing screen, waiting for my mind to settle. Around 7, the founder walked in, carrying his usual stack of notes. He looked energized, like the gala had opened a door he'd spent years knocking on. That was big, he said. They want interviews, partnerships, all of it. And we need to prepare. I nodded. We'll be ready. But I wasn't thinking about interviews. I kept replaying the moment she stepped forward at the gala, her voice soft enough that I had to lean in to hear her. She had come there for something. Not to congratulate me. Not out of support. Something else. And her ex had been there too. trying to stay out of the spotlight while watching everything unfold like he expected a blow he couldn't block. The founder kept talking about next steps, upcoming meetings, tasks that needed rapid decisions. I should have been listening. Instead, a single thought cut through everything. She didn't come alone. By noon, the office started filling with the usual noise. The new team members arrived one by one, including her ex. He walked in quietly, nodding at a few colleagues before sitting down at his desk. He moved with a careful stiffness, as if he wanted to be invisible. When he finally glanced in my direction, he looked away just as quickly. There was something guarded in his face, something I hadn't seen in him months ago. A worry that ran deeper than embarrassment. Something was wrong. I let him settle before asking him to step into the conference room. He followed, keeping a polite distance, as if every inch of space between us mattered. I didn't sit. You were at the gala. He nodded. Invited by a friend on the staff. I didn't know you'd be on stage. He wasn't lying. Not entirely. But he wasn't saying everything either. And her? I asked. He took a slow breath. She found out I was going. His eyes lowered. She insisted on coming with me. That told me everything I needed to know. She wasn't there because she cared. She was there because she sensed something shifting. Something she didn't understand yet. She didn't talk to me about you until yesterday, he said. She didn't even tell me she left you the way she did. I heard from someone else. I waited. He kept his eyes on the table. She said you were fine. Said the breakup was mutual. He paused, clearly uneasy. That's not what it looked like last night. There was more he wasn't saying. I could feel it. Why did your company collapse? I asked. He stiffened, caught off guard by the shift. He hesitated, long enough that I knew he was deciding how much truth to offer. It wasn't one mistake, he said. It was a chain of them. Leadership failed. Investors pulled out. Internal issues got worse. A few people tried to fix things, but it was too late. And you? I stayed too long, he admitted. I thought I could fix something that wasn't mine to fix. That place was already breaking before I arrived. He said it with the tiredness of someone who had lived through the collapse from the inside. And then he looked at me with a type of sincerity I didn't expect. I didn't know she took your money, he said quietly. If I had known, I wouldn't have let her come back. I studied him for a long moment. His voice held no bravado, no excuses, only truth. But I could feel the unspoken question pressing between us. What happens now? He wasn't my enemy. He wasn't the cause. He was a piece of a larger pattern she had crafted long before I understood it existed. You don't owe me anything, I said. He nodded, but his shoulders didn't relax. Before he left the room, he said something that stayed with me longer than I expected. She's scared, he said. Not of you. Of what she doesn't know. I didn't respond. But the air shifted. Later that day, while reviewing new partnership proposals, I received a message from an unknown number. It was her. Please talk to me. Just 5 minutes. I didn't answer. Another message followed. I need to explain. Explain what? That she left without a word? That she drained the savings I spent years building? That she ran back to someone who wasn't ready for her then and wasn't ready for her now? I put the phone away. Around 5, the founder stopped by my office with news. Journalists want background information, he said. They want to know the story behind your investment. How you found us. What pushed you to take the risk? I didn't like the idea. Not because I had anything to hide, but because I didn't want attention. I was still shaping the future I wanted. Too many eyes too early could twist the narrative. Keep it brief, I told him. Focus on the work, not me. He nodded, though his smile said he knew they would push for more. That evening, as the team prepared to leave, her ex approached my desk. There's something else, he said quietly. I didn't mention it earlier because I wasn't sure if it mattered. He waited for me to signal that I was listening. She reached out to some people today, he said. Friends of hers. Friends of mine. Even a few people who used to work with me. She's trying to find out how you got involved with this company. Of course she was. She wasn't just curious. She was trying to gather information before she approached me again. Trying to understand the angle, the risk, the outcome she feared. But she didn't know the details. She didn't know the timeline. She didn't know how much control I held. She won't stop, he added. Not without answers. I thanked him and let him go. He left the office looking lighter, as if telling me the truth was a weight he had needed to set down. I stayed behind, watching the city darken through the glass wall. The office lights reflected back at me, a reminder that everything I had built in the past 3 months came from silence, discipline, and an unwavering focus she never believed I possessed. She once called me predictable, someone easy to understand, easy to rely on, easy to leave. But she had walked out before she learned who I could become. The next morning, I found her waiting outside the building. She didn't rush toward me. She didn't force a greeting. She stood still, arms held close, watching me with the same expression she wore at the gala. Uncertain, unsettled, unprepared. "I only need a moment," she said. Her voice trembled slightly, as if she hated that I could hear it. I could have walked past her again, but this time I didn't. Not out of sympathy, not out of curiosity. This was information. This was clarity. This was the path forward. We stepped aside, away from the entryway. She searched my face as if she was looking for the person she believed I used to be. "I didn't know you were doing all this," she said. "No one knew." "You didn't ask," I replied. She swallowed hard. "I didn't come to argue. I came because I owe you an explanation." Her words came out carefully, practiced, as if she had rehearsed them more than once. "I made a mistake," she said. "I thought I was choosing something familiar, something I understood, but everything fell apart so fast. I didn't expect your life to change like this." Her honesty wasn't the point. Her timing was. She stepped closer. "Can we talk somewhere private?" "No." She blinked, thrown off by the simplicity of the answer. "I'm not asking for us to start over," she said quickly. "I just need closure, and I need you to understand why I left." But she didn't get to finish, because someone else stepped out of the building at that moment. Her ex. He saw us, froze for a moment, then approached slowly. His expression was uneasy, almost resigned. She tensed when she saw him, and in that instant, something shifted between them, something quiet but telling. They weren't united. They weren't aligned. They weren't even standing on the same side. He looked at her, then at me, then said something that broke the ground beneath her feet. I told him everything. She stiffened. Everything. He nodded. It was time. The air went silent. She looked between us, trying to understand what everything meant. "I didn't ask him to," I said. "He chose to." Her voice thinned. "What did you tell him?" He didn't hide from the question. "The messages. The timing. Your plan to move once he gave you the funds for the business idea. The fact that you were supposed to return them. All of it." Her face drained of color. The truth wasn't what hurt her. It was the realization that she no longer controlled the version of it we were standing in. She took a step back, searching for balance that wasn't there. "You weren't supposed to tell him," she whispered. He met her eyes. "You weren't supposed to involve me." That was the moment I understood something crucial. The collapse of their relationship had started long before I showed up. Their version of loyalty was built on secrets. And secrets crumble fast when silence stops protecting them. She turned to me, voice thin with disbelief. "You're both against me?" "No," I said. "We're just done protecting what you built on lies." For the first time since the gala, she looked genuinely shaken. Not because of me, not because of him, but because the narrative she relied on had broken open. I didn't know her anger. I didn't know her forgiveness. I owed her nothing at all. "I need to talk to you alone," she said again, this time pleading rather than asking. "You had months to say anything," I said. "You waited until you saw something you didn't expect." She took another step back, as if the truth pushed her without touching her. "I didn't know you'd become someone who could do all this," she said quietly. I didn't respond. The silence was answer enough. She turned away slowly, walking down the sidewalk with a pace that suggested she didn't know where she was going. Her ex watched her leave, shoulders heavy. "This isn't the end," he said, almost to himself. "No," I agreed. "It's not." The file lay open on the founder's desk, the pages spread out like the remains of something long buried. I didn't sit. I scanned the documents once, twice, letting the pieces settle into place without rushing. Nothing in them surprised me, but the shape of the truth was sharper than I expected. Her name appeared several times, tucked into email threads, internal notes, financial projections. Not as an employee, not even as a consultant, as an outside advisor who had influenced decisions at her ex's old company months before it collapsed. She gave guidance she had no authority to give, pushing leadership toward risky moves while presenting herself as someone with insider knowledge. She wasn't acting out of loyalty. She wasn't acting out of malice either. She was positioning herself for a role that never materialized. Once the company began to deteriorate, the leadership cut ties with anyone involved in the failed strategy. She vanished from the records after that, but the impact remained. Her advice triggered decisions that caused one of the firm's major investors to withdraw support. That withdrawal led to a chain reaction that eventually broke the entire operation. Her ex hadn't known, or if he hadn't understood the full scope, and she had never told him. She had disappeared from the mess she helped create and ran toward stability she assumed she could rebuild with me. The founder watched me carefully. Journalists think this is significant. They want your comment. I closed the file gently. Not yet. He nodded, trusting my silence. The information wasn't something I planned to broadcast. Not because I wanted to protect her, but because timing mattered. Revealing everything at once would blur the message. It would look vindictive. And this wasn't about revenge anymore. This was about clarity, closure, and the kind of justice that doesn't need noise. By noon, our company's inbox filled with requests, interviews, invitations, collaborative opportunities. We had reached the point where momentum no longer needed to be pushed. It moved on its own. Her ex approached my office again, restless, carrying the weight of something he couldn't set down. I saw the file, he said quietly. The founder showed me. I waited. I didn't know she had that level of involvement, he said. I thought her connection to the company was limited to me. His voice had a strained honesty. Not defensive, not ashamed, just tired of discovering he had been living inside a version of events that wasn't real. You're not responsible for her choices, I said. He shook his head. Maybe not, but I can't let her drag either of us into the consequences. He looked at me with a resolve I hadn't seen in him before. What are you planning, he asked. Nothing reckless, I said. Just the truth. He nodded, accepting that answer more easily than I expected. That afternoon, journalists released an article about our company's rapid rise. The headline focused on innovation, leadership, and growth. It didn't mention her. It didn't mention her ex. It didn't mention the file. Not yet. But momentum attracts curiosity, and curiosity leads people toward the cracks in old stories. The article gained traction quickly, drawing attention beyond the industry. And soon, predictably, the past began resurfacing. By evening, I received a message from an old acquaintance. I heard something about her involvement in her ex's company. Is it true? I didn't respond. The truth didn't need my voice to be recognized. The next day, she appeared in the lobby of our office again. This time, she didn't look nervous. She looked determined, as if she had convinced herself she could withstand anything. The receptionist called me, asking if I wanted her escorted out. No, I said. Send her up. She entered my office without waiting for permission. She stood in front of my desk, holding her bag tightly, refusing to sit. You knew, she said. About the old company. About the files. Yes. Did you tell them? She asked. No. She looked almost relieved, then confused again. Then how did it get out? It didn't, I said. Not fully. Her expression tightened. She sensed something she didn't want to face. What do you want from me? She asked. Nothing. She stared at me, stunned by the simplicity of the answer. She made a slow turn toward the glass wall, watching the city below, the quiet movement of people who had no idea their lives were built on invisible choices. She ran her hand along the edge of the window, as if grounding herself. I never meant to ruin anyone's company, she said. I only shared what I was told. I didn't think they would act on every suggestion. I let her talk. She kept going, the words spilling faster. You weren't supposed to get pulled into this. I left because I thought he still cared. I thought going back would fix things. When it didn't, I didn't know how to come back to you without admitting everything. She glanced at me, waiting for something, understanding, maybe, or anger. But I wasn't there to give her either. You didn't return the funds, I said. You didn't reach out until your life started collapsing. I didn't know how to face you, she whispered. You faced me when you thought I had nothing. She closed her eyes for a moment, and I saw the truth settle in her posture. She finally realized that the version of me she abandoned didn't exist anymore. She stepped closer. Let me make this right. You can't. She hesitated. Then what happens now? I didn't answer right away. Not to be dramatic. Not to punish her. I was choosing the cleanest ending. Nothing happens, I said. We're done. Her breath shook. That's it. That's it. She waited, hoping I would add something. An opening. A condition. A reason for her to hold on. But I had none to give. She finally lowered her eyes. They're going to investigate the old company, she said. You know that, don't you? Yes. And if they find my name, that's for them to decide, I said. She didn't argue. She didn't try to blame anyone. She just nodded as if she had known this moment was inevitable. When she walked out, she didn't look back. Right after the door closed, her ex stepped into the hallway. He had been waiting. He didn't speak, but the look on his face told me he understood the finality of what had just happened. "Are you all right?" he asked. "Yes." He nodded. "She won't bother you again." "She doesn't need to," I said. "Her story is no longer tied to mine." He exhaled slowly. "Thank you for not throwing her under the bus." "I didn't protect her," I said. "I just let the truth stand on its own." He understood. "I'm leaving the company," he said gently. "Not because of this. I just need to start fresh somewhere else. It's the right choice." He offered a faint smile. "Good luck with everything." "You too." He walked away with a steady resolve, carrying nothing from the past except lessons he needed to keep. That evening, as I watched the city lights rise, the founder entered my office. "You didn't take the interview," he said. "No." "Why?" I looked out at the skyline, a quiet line of windows glowing with possibility. "Because sometimes the most powerful move," I said, "is letting the world arrive at the truth without a single word from you." The founder nodded, as if he understood more than I said. I left the office late that night, stepping into the cool air, feeling something settle inside me, finally steady, finally clear. I didn't win because she saw me succeed. I won because I no longer needed her to understand the price of losing me.